Tracy moves to the front of the field on the start. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC station. Back at the Miller Genuine Draft 200, we're seeing some great racing. Emerson Fittipaldi just snatched the lead away from Paul Tracy. And Penske cars 1, 2, and 3. Fittipaldi, Tracy, and Little Al. Little Al now working to the outside of Tracy.
I have never seen a team fight as hard within itself as these three guys are going. Switching back and forth, sometimes once every lap, and just going all over the place, passing the guys high and low. Paul, it's amazing.
And already the three Penske cars have pulled away from the fourth place car, which is Jacques Villeneuve at the moment. They're 4 seconds up on Villeneuve.
Let's go down pit side for a report on Raul Boisel. Here's Gary.
Well, he started from the pole, but unfortunately with this changing weather conditions, the setup isn't working. They picked up a push. The car's not responding. They want yellow, of course, so they can make a change as soon as possible. They have to wait and hang on as best they can. Let's go to Jack.
And Gary, those changing weather conditions are exactly what Emerson Fittipaldi credits for the way he's running so well as compared to yesterday afternoon. In the last practice session, he told his crew, don't make many changes because I think the track will come to us. It'll get hot. It'll get greasy. He likes it just the way the car is right now.
Jack, the car that the three Penske cars has just roared by is Bobby Rahal, who of course was so competitive at Indianapolis last week. Great drive, finished third today. He switched back to Honda power, not doing so well.
We take a look at the running order after 24 miles. Fittipaldi still in front, followed by Little Al and then Paul Tracy. Now, remember, as Jack suggested at the start, we're looking at a Penske car with an entirely different power plant. This is the Elmore D engine, not the Mercedes-Benz that ran so powerfully at Indianapolis. So the playing field is a bit more level, Bobby.
Or to explain it further, Paul, that the engine is very similar to the Ford. Even though they're made by two different manufacturers, they're the same cubic inches, the same blower pressure. Other than that, they're turning about the same RPM. So it's a very level playing field, as you said.
Level playing field, except it seems to be utterly dominated by these red and day-glow white cars of Penske. I mean, have you ever seen, Bobby, Penske so dominant? I mean, he's got cars running 1, 2, 3 and pulling away.
Sam, for about 10 laps there, we couldn't even tell who was in first and who was in second for a while. They were passing so often.
One of the things that you tend to forget when an engine is as powerful as the Mercedes was at Indianapolis is how really good the chassis is. And of course, we've seen this Nigel Bennett designed Penske chassis perform so very well throughout the season, winning at Long Beach, winning at Phoenix.
And just so everybody knows, on the RPM, they're all turning about 13 to 13,500. Some of them 13.5. But most of them have two gears in the transmission. One for what you call cruising. If there's no race like this is really a race now, they'll be running the low gear, just going like heck, probably turn 13.5.
Continuing to watch the run at the front of the field.
Remember that Emerson Fittipaldi made an uncharacteristic driving error late in the race, 16 laps to go at Indianapolis last week. That may be holding him. Little Al down on the inside, Emerson on the outside.
Oh, look at all this traffic as they come onto the backside. Little Al down to the inside. They were 3 wide off the corner. But Fittipaldi threads his way in behind Teo Fabi.
Traffic makes so much difference at this particular time. Whoa! Little Al going way underneath there, and everybody else bogged ammo down, and he got by.
So Al Unser Jr. now picks up the lead of the race.
A lot of those passes like that are gambles. Little Al didn't know until he came out of the turn that it was going to be free and clear underneath.
Well, I tell you, Little Al used to wait for half distance or even later before he would take over the lead. He'd work his way up carefully. Not so today. This is very early in the race to see him burst into the lead.
So Al Unser Jr. now has to be point man for the Penske team as they come through traffic.
Remember that he's one of the 4 great drivers who won his first oval IndyCar race right here. So he has good memories of this place.
Now you see him move his groove right out just as soon as he got by Emil there. He moved out a full car width in the same turn.
They both come around Stefan Johansson and Adrian Fernandez. Al Unser Jr. still having to handle traffic, which will be what we normally see throughout the afternoon, barring yellows on this course. On board now with Raul Boisel, as he is battling with Robbie Gordon for 5th place.
That's Gordon just ahead of him and to the right. Now watch Gordon take a high, wide line going into this turn. See, he's way outside of where Raul is running, and he stays out there the whole way through the turn.
Yes, you know, he did that at Indianapolis, Sam. You remember what, coming off of number 2, I kept telling you guys that Gordon was way high in his own groove. Well, he's doing the same thing here. Now, that's good and it's bad. He'll make a good groove out there if he stays there long enough, and sometimes it's a sign of a good driver.
Less room for error, though, Bobby, when you're out there?
There's a lot of room right now for error, but he'll get it cleaned off pretty soon.
That's 5th place, Robbie Gordon just ahead. Let's just ride with this car and listen to how he controls the throttle. He just moved around. Now we move up to Robbie Gordon, and here we've got some telemetry for you. Again, we'll watch and ride.
What's nice about this telemetry is you can see where the driver gets at full throttle. The 100% throttle over there shows you what he's doing in the turn, Paul, and what he does coming off. He's coming off like number 2 now, down the straightaway, walk full open throttle, all the way down. Look at the RPM up to about 12,800 there.
So Robbie Gordon, as he works his way around, Michael Andretti was able to pull up on Raul Boisel and move past as well. Jack Arute, you have an update for us on Robbie?
Well, Paul, looks as if Robbie may get just a little more racy in the Valvoline car. He had a severe understeer problem. The car was pushing badly, but it seems as if the track is coming to him. Derek Walker said he radioed in and said, thus far, it's getting better every lap.
You ride back now with Nigel Mansell as we keep an eye on Michael Andretti and Raul Boisel line just ahead. There is Nigel as he tries to get around Michael. Whoa, he's going to take him close to the wall with that one.
Well, that was a close one there. Michael didn't see him for a while, kept moving out. You can see Nigel was getting a little nervous.
Considerable rivalry between Nigel Mansell and Michael Andretti, of course, stemming from their incident on the first lap down in Australia at the beginning of the season. No love lost between those two drivers.
Michael Andretti rides in 8th place, the last car on the leader lap. The leaders should be lining up just behind Michael here shortly. Nigel is 7th, then Raul Boisel in 6th. There they are all together as Nigel begins to challenge on Raul, and they move around Mark Smith.
Nigel at last having a really good race this year. He's had a couple of places. He's well up in the championship, but he hasn't really moved well through the traffic. He is now.
You know, Sam, I think the deal, a lot of it between Nigel and Michael is not bad feelings, except that Nigel is in the position with the same team where Michael used to be with. And I think there's always just a slight amount of jealousy on things like that. But they respect each other, and they both win in the same team. So that shows you it's a team that's really good in a lot of ways.
Well, I agree with you, Bobby. And of course, last year, Nigel was very solicitous of Michael's troubles in Formula One. He did everything he could to help him out with advice.
Now Nigel Mansell lines up on Raul Boisel. Just ahead of them is Jacques Villeneuve.
Look at how much is going on in these cars. I mean, look at the steering here. A few changes to that steering wheel every few seconds. It's tough going, Paul.
You can see Nigel is going clear down almost to the grass. He's using kind of a late apex. Some of the guys that are going slower use an earlier apex.
Michael Andretti has gone a lap down to the leaders, and now the leader, Al Unser Jr., is pulling up behind Nigel Mansell as there goes Fittipaldi around Nigel. And this race is at its 42nd lap and has been green right from the go.
Paul, remember at Indy a week ago, the Penske cars were dominant there too, but the other guys had the hope, the other drivers could hope that there would be a mechanical problem that would strike the Penske cars. There's less chance of that today, don't you agree?
So Al Unser Jr. continues to slice his way through this field, followed by his teammate Emerson Fittipaldi and Paul Tracy running in 3rd. We'll be back with more from the Milwaukee Mile. We're back at Milwaukee as you take a look at the interval standings. The Penske cars, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd are the only cars on the lead lap. We're back now on a battle a bit down in the field as Michael Andretti closes on Raul Boisel. Jacques Villeneuve sets just ahead of him. He comes around Arie Luyendyk. On board Michael.
Now this is really a good shot because you can see Michael's camera is on the wing right here. That's the tire going up and down. Milwaukee track is a little bit rough. They haven't repaved it. It needs to be done. But it's the most beautifully shaped racetrack, probably the short racetrack in the world.
Watching just ahead, Raul Boisel. As Michael takes it up to full chat and then right back out of it. Boisel here in 3 and 4 has been able to really dial down low in the corner. He closes on Villeneuve. Now to the inside of Jacques.
But what a change in the order of things from qualifying when Raul was on the pole and the Penske's were scattered through the pack to now they're running 1, 2, 3 and he is struggling.
And Raul gets caught behind slower traffic, and in doing so Michael Andretti gets around. Now he's lost his momentum but comes back up to speed. That's Hiro Matsushita just behind him.
Also, as you can see up there's 148 laps to go. It's a 200-lap race.
Take a look at Nigel Mansell and Robbie Gordon as they go side by side. This is a battle for fourth.
And again, it's one of the few racetracks that you can really race side by side all the way around the turns, all the way around the track a lot of times. There's Robbie Gordon watching way out, not even down anywhere near where most of the other guys are running.
New record attendance here on the mile. 45,254 race fans enjoying this battle.
Here's the look out of the back of Nigel Mansell's car as you see Gordon dropping back as he passes Brian Herta. Gordon forced to an inside line. Mansell really struggling with the car but moving up place after place.
The front of the field remains Al Unser Jr., then Fittipaldi, then Paul Tracy. Nigel Mansell, red number 1 right there, rides in 4th place. Gordon in 5th, Michael Andretti in 6th. Here's the running order after 54 laps.
The traffic is so bad sometimes you can watch as the cars go by the front straightaway. The flagman just almost holds the move-over flag out constantly. The fast cars are awesome fast. The other guys are getting lapped relatively pretty often.
Remember Mansell's great drive here last year when he won his first oval race. He's having another great drive today. If it weren't for the Penske's, he'd be leading this race. Right now he's first in class.
A lot of people thought the Mercedes engines, Sam, were carrying the Penske cars at Indianapolis. But, you know, they had a pretty good year already. Remember, little Al won Long Beach pretty easy. Paul Tracy, of course, or Emerson Fittipaldi, rather, of course, won Phoenix. And now here at Milwaukee, they're showing it isn't just the engine. The cars really do handle good.
Bobby, let me suggest that maybe at Indianapolis, the Mercedes engine actually handicapped the Penske team.
Well, it certainly seemed to slow their turn speed down a little bit. But, Sam, they had the straightaway speed. And that's ever so important for passing at Indianapolis.
Oh, there's no question about that. But you look at this race, and here they are running 1, 2, 3. It's an unbelievable demonstration of superiority.
Runs on the miles are tornadoes as they just rip around these courses. Many of the fans call them bull rings.
Oh, and the fans, there's so many here. It's such a good chance to talk to them before the start of the race. Everybody with an idea who might win the race, so keenly informed, particularly in the wake of Indy. Everybody's kind of up to speed of what's going on here. Nigel
Mansell inside of Mike Groff. Now, we're talking Honda power once again in both Ray Hall's car and in Mike Groff's car. Look at the gigantic crowd, though. They come over to the backside.
Yeah, remember, Ray Hall at Indianapolis was in one of Roger Penske's old one-year-old cars with Elmore power, whereas today he's back in the Hondas for he and Groff, like you said, and they're lacking in straightaway speed again, very much like they did.
Let's go back with Bobby Rahal on board again. Honda power here. And Rahal currently runs in 14th. Tail Bobby just ahead.
14th place. This has to be really tough for Rahal because Miller Brewing, his sponsor, this is their hometown. Obviously, a lot of people out here rooting for him. And after his great third at Indy last week, they expect great things. It's hard for people to understand what the difference in horsepower could mean. And suddenly he's running in the back of the field instead of the front.
But, you know, Sam, the Honda fans are going to stick with him. Rahal, one good race driver. Miller's been sticking with him. They all realize that engines take a while to develop. The Honda's certainly going to take a little